are live on YouTube for the January 2025 Westlake Charter School Board meeting. Board President Golick, you have the YouTubes.
Thank you. I mean, I think first we just have to shout out that we're finally in the year of our first graduating class.
Woo! Let's go, class of 25.
I mean, that's what I think of when I hear 25.
Yeah, for sure.
But for those of you at home watching us on YouTube, welcome. Please remember you can still make a public comment by emailing admin@westlakecharter.com. In the subject line, put what you want to talk about, and then please keep your comments to 250 words. We'll make every effort to read those in during the meeting, but if we don't get to it, it will be included as part of the minutes. With that, Amy, will you please take the roll?
Yes. Hope.
Here.
Sean.
Here.
Josh. Satvir.
Here.
Sally.
Here.
Amber.
Here.
Suzanne.
Here.
Nurali.
Here.
Amy.
Here. I'm going to cheat, as the board president prerogative, and go first with celebration. And I don't do it all that often, but I would like to truly start by welcoming Zafir to our board.
Let's go.
He has served us greatly on our finance committee for the, 18 months?
Wow.
The last 18 months, and it's really exciting to have him here with us tonight, so welcome. With that, I'm going to kick it to Suzanne to go next.
I want to celebrate our girls basketball JV team.
Yeah.
We got to see their second game, although they lost. They did way better than they had their first game, and so we're really encouraged. So it's fun to see them.
Basketball's playing tough right now, all boys and girls. That's great.
Sally?
So many things. Oh.
There's lots to celebrate, but
Wow, we're really dumbfounded. You can't pick one celebration, okay.
I'll come back to
We'll come back to it.
Thank you.
Right.
I'm going to celebrate community. This time I'm going to celebrate, I mean, I know it's a December thing, but we're so close to Rockmont Circle, and it has been amazing to walk around there and just see all our community members.
So
People
true.
from activities and sports and families from schools, and I just love the sense of community over there that they've created in this greater, I know it's an area, but they really created a community, and it's just amazing that people volunteer and do this all on their own, so it's awesome, and it's great. So
Yeah.
I want to celebrate that.
Yeah, a lot of those families that, many, they didn't have kids in every school, but many of those families go to school here. It's great. It's great. Yeah, I love to see them walking to and from.
Felix, we don't normally ask the public to celebrate, but would you like to celebrate something tonight?
Yeah, hit that mic right there, man. Hit it.
Sorry, Steve. Yeah, it's great that you're here. I'm sure you have something to celebrate.
Yeah, I know it's been a little while since I've been to one of these meetings, so I appreciate being back. I would like to celebrate, it's part of my update, that we have a brand new WAVE board member.
Yes, we
Whitney
do.
Browning has joined us as the VP of Parent Engagement, and so it's super exciting. Small, but still mighty. We're building little by little here. So it's a big celebration. Someone actually have like a big thought partner around what we're trying to do and working on. So yeah, I'll put that as my celebration.
Perfect. Thank you, Felix. Sorry to put you on the spot. Steve?
Mike is not working, so I'll just speak up. The hospital staff worked here. We had a lot of staff, smiles, some food, all the things, everyone's back, and so yeah, it was a lot of fun. Well received, both campus, having a lot of folks around, so yeah, it was a good day.
Yeah, your button's not working?
Oh!
Steve Corbin.
Celebrate that.
He's trying to save money on electricity. He's trying to save electricity money. He's like, I don't turn it off, we'll save a nickel on electricity.
So
Steve
now we'll move
Corbin.
on next time you hit it. Amber?
Okay, I'm going to stick with what I celebrated in governance. I think we have an amazing STEM program going on at the high school.
Yeah.
It's a great intro. There's many different intro classes for students, coding, robotics, engineering, and so they're able to be, exposed to those different STEM programs and then dive in further if they want to. And the teacher's absolutely amazing. He's built an amazing program.
Yeah.
Very
Big shout out to Mr. Perez. Yeah.
I'll build on that, because my kiddo took robotics last term, and now we're in a new term, and he's taking coding. So doing
Like the opposite of mine.
doing exactly that, so, I really agree.
Yeah, love it. Safir, welcome in. You got a celebration for us?
Yeah, I'll shout out the spelling bee that's going on in Westlake. My second grader won her class one.
Let's go.
Before break, she found out she won, right? So before break, she was super excited. during break when we told her to study a word, she hated spelling. And,
Yeah.
so this week she's back into it, so she likes it again. So we can't wait for the 22nd.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Hopefully, I think it's gonna be a good turnout. It should be fun.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
I also want to celebrate the optional staff workday. I was able to come in and put together some slides and some lessons on how to have my kids build Google Slide presentations that then they can like add pictures to for this nonfiction informational writing unit that we're launching. And I didn't have time in my life to make that happen other than that day, and it was really nice to be able to spend the time being very intentional about it. And I launched it with my kids yesterday, and they just about lost their minds. They were so, it was like happy chaos in my life. They were just all so engaged and so focused and just so into what we were doing. And I was so grateful that I'd had the time to like really think it through and plot it out so that I had like, you have this question, I know how to answer this question. I have a slide about that. You know, like it was really good. So I'm really grateful that the board has approved those days.
Yeah, I love it.
Last night, my daughter built a 10-slide show for her parents, yes. And now I understand where that came from.
Did she try to convince you of something? Because I
It
think
was just all about handling.
I think when my children learned to build slides at Westlake Charter School, they were like, we can weaponize these slides. 10 reasons why we should get a dog. 12 reasons why my allowance should go up. I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, I love it. You're welcome. AW, you want to play?
Yeah, Steve actually acknowledged in our governance meeting the first responders who are down south. My brother is 6 miles away from one of the fires, and so we're in constant communication all day, but one of the things that he's saying is that there are a lot of people helping and jumping in, and so I just think that's something to acknowledge. I know it's not really a celebration, but
It's great.
I'll go with community. They're all kind of helping each other because resources are spread super thin down there, and I'm just grateful.
Yeah, you stole mine a little bit. I was going to echo the first responder call out. It's a celebration of our first responders. I mean, in a massive crisis like this, we recognize that every one of those first responders went to school somewhere at one point. You know what I mean? My oldest son just graduated from the fire academy, and he is actually like, oh, I wish I was heading down there. I'm like, well, I'm kind of glad you're not. But yeah, big shout out to the first responders. I would do that. I guess I got to quickly come up with an actual celebration thing because you stole mine. It's okay. Oh, I can do it. Yeah, how about what you
Okay, I
save
have
me?
2 to make up for my lapse.
Yeah,
So,
good.
brain power right there. Okay, optional staff development day. I was able to get 3 meetings taken care of that I wanted to devote time to, and if it would have happened during the school week, I would have had a sub in my classroom or given up my prep time. And so to be able to do the meetings during that day was so helpful. And one of the meetings, all 3 of a student's teachers came into the meeting at once, which we're never able to do. Usually it's just one teacher representing all of us. So all of us walked into the room and the students like, hey, it was really powerful. And then my second is we had a behavior reset assembly today that Coach Sterling ran for the 8th graders. And Coach Sterling is my celebration because he is just risen up in the Westlake way, and he spoke to the kids in such a relatable way. He joked with them, he was serious with them, he towed line with them, and it was so well received. So yes.
I love it. There might be a picture of Coach Sterling from Pajama Day on one of the slides, so we'll just pause at that moment when it comes by. So good. Yeah, I would, coming back to celebrate, I would celebrate yesterday with staff being here on the K-8 side of the house. I got a chance to jam with all the K-8 staff unpacking the dashboard. And we unpack the dashboard all the time here in this room, and so I got a chance to unpack the dashboard with our staff, and it reminds me where we work. You know what I mean? You can unpack the dashboard at some schools, and you're going to get a lot of, whatever. But, I had so many people come back from like, yeah, I got this question about this, what do you think about that? This thing, made my brain bubble, and I thought, we're such an engaged, lean-in staff, If they don't know, they want to know. And I just love that vibe, of this room. So, I love our staff.
Okay, board comments for items not on the agenda. Seeing none, Mrs. Cahiga, WCS, is there anyone at the high school to provide public comment? Well, Dr. Ike looks up to see if there's any emails.
I don't see anybody waiting to make public comment.
Perfect, thank you.
I also see no public comments in the email inbox.
Great, so that kicks off the WAVE report. Felix?
It's good to be back on here. All right. Thanks for the flexibility of you letting me send in videos and read notes while I've been out for various reasons, whether it be work travel or family personal ones. But I'm glad to be here now. I was going to take the next few minutes, if you don't mind. I'm actually going to read off my iPad for a little bit. There's a lot to cover in a few minutes of kind of what we've been doing. I wanted to take this opportunity really to present kind of WAVE's progress at this halfway point in the school year. So I'm thrilled to share kind of some of the incredible strides that we've been able to do, as well as just talk a little bit more about what our engagement opportunities have looked like and what we're going forward in the future. So starting off, if you remember when I first came up in my first presentation, I had this kind of 3-year plan and say, hey, we're going to do all these things and work on it. The first year was really about increasing parent involvement. And so the first goal with that was for us to look at a measurable was, can we get some 45 unduplicated families working with WAVE, which is about 3%. It's a fairly conservative, measurable goal, but I didn't know what I was walking into. I'm happy to report, though, that as of today, we have 135 families that are unduplicated who've worked with us already with WAVE. So beating that goal up, blowing it out the water at this point. We've seen a lot of achievement in regards to having this goal met through like flexible activities for folks to get involved with. We've focused a lot on making sure that we paid attention to people's schedules, figure out what we can find out small micro tasks for people to get involved with us. And I really do think the Classroom Ambassadorship Program being relaunched this year had a big deal with us getting more families involved as well. We've started quarterly mixers. That have been a new way to approach and fostering a sense of community within the WAVE members. These mixers have provided kind of an informal yet meaningful way for opportunities for folks to get involved, get to know each other, and we've seen some strong participation early on. I'm just hoping that this continues to grow as we're planning to actually do this instead of quarterly, monthly, starting in February. Another major focus for us has been ensuring that our communication is effective and inclusive. And so I had an early goal to figure out, can we have a comprehensive communication channels that would reach every single parent at Westlake by the end of September. And so while we haven't reached every single one, we have tried channels to do so. We've then blended several platforms with our emails, social media, text messages, and printed materials. We've been working on posting weekly updates, obviously with the Westlake Weekly, but also the Facebook group, talking about events, volunteer opportunities, and school news. And we've been asking for a lot of feedback. So almost every single event that we've had volunteer feedback or event feedback, and we've had people who've signed up to attend, to register. These opportunities have been ways for us to ensure that parents' voices are heard, and then us having a responsive opportunity to their needs and questions that they might have as well. There's still a lot of room in this area in regards to communication, figuring out what is most effective and how we can have larger reach, but I'm excited for these initial efforts that we've started to have so far. Also, just, excuse me, as a note, I've worked a lot on kind of the first 3 months on a listening tour, doing tons of one-on-one meetings with folks. Bella Brew has known me fairly well now at this point for having coffees and talks with folks, and then tons of email exchanges, just getting an idea of how we can break down barriers for participation, finding out why parents were once involved and not involved anymore, people who are brand new to have no way how to kind of actually get an opportunity to enter into engagement. And so understanding all of that through these one-on-ones have helped me kind of get a sense on the ground of what we can do better as WAVE to increase our engagement. The last thing I've been working on, kind of on this increased parent engagement mode, is just the visibility, is making sure that WAVE is seen at least a strong presence at all events if possible. I'm proud to say that we've made some progress here. We are on track right now to hit our goal of 5,000 volunteer hours by the end of the year. As of now, we're about 1,300, with a big shout out to kindergarten and second grade, who are leading the way with about 1,000 hours of those 1,300. So if you have any kids who are not in kindergarten or second grade, we're going to step up in those parents' areas to get them involved. In addition, just to kind of beyond the parent engagement, just to share some exciting news of what we've been working on going through. We've already met our $43,000 commitment goal for the school. So Steve, I'll be working with you to figure out how to get the check to you for all of that. This was no small feat, particularly with 2 key vacancies, positions open in our board. But despite that, I think the team has been incredibly resilient. Parents have been really involved, and we like to continue the success moving forward as well. As I mentioned earlier, I'm excited to announce Whitney Browning as our new VP of Parent Engagement. She's been a phenomenal classroom ambassador chair for us, and I think bringing her expertise, connections, and just passion for the school is going to be really, really helpful for WAVE. Looking ahead, we're preparing for International Festival in April. The ball's already rolling in regards to planning with that. We are gearing up for elections on April 20th. We'll have position descriptions available probably as early as mid-February so that we can start to let parents know who might want to be involved with board, maybe replace me. I'm not suggesting that, just saying that it's an election. That we could have more involvement in that way as well as regards to information. Lastly, been working with Dr. Ike to align our strategy with Westlake's broader goals, particularly around streamlining fundraising and enhancing parent engagement on campus that's outside of events. So I'm also, along with that, developing a strategy guide for parent engagement at the high school, which I plan to complete by mid-February and present that to Principal McIver and the rest of the staff who wants to be involved with that as well. So I think in closing, WAVE is on track right now in a lot of positive ways to meet or exceed our goals for this year. The support from parents, our volunteers, and the entire community has been really nothing short of inspiring at this point. I think together right now we're building a really strong foundation to move this organization and help impact the school in the near future. So yeah, I continue to be excited to work with all of y'all, take your input and ideas. Just want to say thank you as a last note for all of your support and everything that you've given me in the my first 6-8 months, whatever it's been now at this point as president. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yay, Felix. Dr. Ike, would you mind doing the impact committee report? I don't want to mess up the guidelines that we're working on impact. I think you'll do a better job of describing it.
Yeah, Impact had a great meeting. We're kind of on a flow right now. I'm going to turn my microphone on so everybody hears that. And here it goes. Impact team met talking about, and you've probably read their goals in the board briefs tonight, but they are working on creating a charter renewal map or guideline from now into charter renewal. So what are all the steps along the way? They had a really interesting presentation 2 meetings ago about, hey, what do we all need to know about the charter renewal, high, medium, and low track. This last one, we went over our this charter renewal monitoring guide that is in a real beta version that we produced. Kind of looked it over. Does this data belong here? Should it be narrative? Should it be bullet points? So it's starting to come to fruition. We think it'll be the next 6 months or so. But what we think we'll have is like a little guidebook that says, okay, we should be tracking this data, this data, this data. And when it updates each year, put it here, here, and here. We'll be able to track, are we on track for our charter renewal goals? So I think the impact team is small but mighty and doing some good stuff.
Perfect, thank you. And then Neroli, would you mind doing development?
So in development, we're really, Giving Tuesday happened, and we're looking forward to the big day of giving, which is going to be in May of 2025. We're really taking some time since we have kind of all the templates and everything prepared for the big day of giving from last year. What our sponsorship levels with our different Explore partners really looks like. So we're really starting to have that discussion on how do we do some outreach, how do we identify our different levels of sponsorship, and maybe how that relates to our community of recognizing these larger sponsors or Explore partners, and really going back to like which donors do we have on our existing spreadsheet that's been in works for a long time, and who are we really in contact with, and where do we really need to develop more relationships to really identify these partners to our school from a business perspective. So we're kind of trying to take a new look at that and see where we're going from there. So that's where we're at right now.
Perfect, thank you. Sean, in finance?
Yeah, so we are in the midst of our annual certificated compensation review. So we got another update from Steve at our last meeting, and that will continue into our next meeting.
And then governance met right before this meeting. the foster youth policy will be back next month. We did take action on that tonight, and then we also did vote to recommend to the board item H on consent, and that's repealing the two policies because they've already been essentially replaced by one all-inclusive policy. But our policy work is ongoing, and we're trying to find out what might be the best path forward in doing that. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Dr. A.
Also covering sent goals up tonight, I think, right? Was that
Oh,
mentioned?
yes, sorry, that was actually on for full discussion, so yes, I was gonna share that later.
Okay, copy. Right on, right on.
I just thought I'd cover consent real fast, because that's usually pretty
Because
quick.
that's what's coming up next. Got it.
Yes.
Well, all right. I got a executive director's report. What could go wrong? Let's see what happens here. We'll do what we do. We'll start with some celebrations. We will hit some strategic actions. What are we working on? And we'll do some updates based on things you've heard before, and I'll update them as to where we are now. Let's dive in with some celebrations. Because who doesn't love some pictures from Pajama Day? Nope, no Sterling up there. I guess he's going to come up later. Just saying. A-Dub did approve the picture. Yeah, Pajama Day always a hit here at Westlake Charter School. Yeah, right. Look, it's the Friday before you go off to winter break, and you think, oh, you know, Spirit Days are so fun. Like, if you do Sports Day, you're like, wow, there's lots of sports fans here. But it's not everyone on Sports Day. And Rainbow Day's fun, but it's not everyone. I don't think there was a single person not in pajamas on Pajama Day. It was ridiculous. At this campus, it looked like a 1,000 seat, sleepover. It was hilarious. Yeah, I love me some Pajama Day. Winter's so much fun. And then we turn off all the lights and have movie night, and it was jam-packed and wave, and the whole, everybody did a phenomenal job on that. Love the new setting. We've done it in the gym before. We kind of moved to the cafeteria. A little more intimate, kind of snuggly setting on a cold winter's night. Tons of fun. K-12 movie night. It is now second semester at Westlake Charter High School, which means if you are the class of 2025 or the father of a 2025 student about to graduate, this is their last semester in public K-12 education. That is wild. So when you say, hey, first semester, that's a wrap. Like, some of these kids are stepping into like, oh my gosh, this is their last semester. And you'll recall we are on the 4x4 block schedule, so you recognize that if you finish Math 1 or Math 3 or whatever it is in first semester, you're on to a whole new class schedule. And so it's really funny for me because I jammed between both campuses on the first day back, January 7th. I was over here, and it had one vibe. We were all excited to see the kids come back from winter break. But over at the high school, the vibe is so like, I'm a teacher. I've had 3 groups of 30 kids, and they're gone, and I'm getting 3 new groups of 30 kids who I don't know, but they all know each other. And they've been hanging around each other all first semester. And so, yeah, the high school vibe coming into second semester is such a different vibe. And it's very exciting. I walked into Miss Tang's classroom. She's a first-year teacher with us, killing it. And she just was like, I'm so excited to meet my new classes. So really fun first day of school in the new year. Holidays around the world is one of my favorite little celebrations. That's my child right there, actually. Holidays around the world is such a cool opportunity for middle school or upper grade kids to go down to lower elementary students and partner with them and study our holidays around the world. So much fun that day before we head off to winter break. Another tradition before we head off to winter break is our staff celebration. We do take our regular 2-hour with what would be our PD time and turn it into a party. And we just had a blast. This year's celebration was Hug, which is a Scandinavian term that means warmth during winter. What makes you feel warm during winter? What makes you feel comfortable on the inside? So we've surveyed staff. What will make you feel comfortable food-wise? Number one most comfortable food apparently is tacos. So we had tacos, lumpia, mashed potatoes, and macaroni and cheese. And I showed you pictures of the plates because people were like, just so happy. It was great. We made candles. We had fun. We collaborated. We celebrated. It's just good to have the band together. We made sure we had subs provided for bass, so our bass staff could be there as well. Classified, certificated, all under one roof. Always feels like family. We did some give backs. We made some infant baby blankets that were being donated to a local shelter. We made candles. It was a good day. It was a good day. I'd like to just close our celebration with. I didn't think I was going to get emotional. This gentleman, Cal Patel, is a father of 3 children in our school. And Cal, it was maybe one of the best volunteers. I know we've had a million great, you're all wonderful volunteers. But Cal Patel walked onto campus one day and said, hey, can I help, in the parking lot? Because it seems like that's an area I could help. And then Cal didn't not show up for, I think,
3 years.
I think it was almost 300 consecutive school days, right? So it was like 2.5 years, rain, shine, guy and he loved it. Every day he would thank us for giving him the opportunity to go out and help the community where his children were being raised. He had so much love for volunteering, but for serving the place that he loved. He loved Westlake. Sorry. So yeah, Cal just passed just over winter break, and we wanted to celebrate him. So there we go. On to strategic actions. Didn't think I was going to choke up. Sorry, Amy. Sorry about that. Yeah, didn't know I was going to get choked up. I thought I was going to sail right through that. Yeah, wonderful man, wonderful family.
No happier face at drop off.
Yeah, right. God loves this place. So, strategic actions, I'm going to jump into some supporting math work that we're doing. I know that at the board we've talked about the recent dashboard. I've had an opportunity to go out to our staff and discuss our dashboard, how it's constructed. Really cool, because if you're in your first maybe 5 years of teaching, you have the dashboard was new in 2017, and then it stopped during the pandemic. Then we all came back post-pandemic and we're working on things. So for a lot of the newer staff, they're like, how's it work again? How's the color codes? Wait, it's growth over time. So that was really cool. We discussed kind of our current reality and potential growth targets. Like, hey, we're just a small stretch of the rubber band away from what could come next in math. And so we talked about, hey, let's not panic. Yeah, we dropped to orange, but we're 5 points away from going up to yellow and over to green in one foul swoop. Our staff is doing some really cool stuff already. This Imagine Math Minutes Challenge is so different grade level to grade level. I mean, Sally's, not to shout you out, but Sally's using it in some different ways, right? She's using some of the kind of built-in assessment pieces or how it aligns with NWA, and then some of the other grade levels are using it in their own way. We're seeing kids dive in. We've had our Westlake Charter School students have already completed over 7,000 lessons in Imagine Math since we launched this Minutes Challenge. And what's really cool is we've got engaged in over 2,000 live math sessions. So if you're on the platform and you get stuck on a question, you answer it wrong twice, what you think is a chatbot pops up. It's not an AI chatbot. It's a certificated teacher in the state of, I think it's the state of California, who says, hey, I'm a certificated teacher. I'm fingerprinted and FBI, approved to communicate with children regarding math. How can I help? And we let and now that the kids recognize it's a human, they're a little more, they're like, hey, help me out here. Really a cool piece right there. We're seeing parents help out at home, teachers are happening in the classroom. And look, as we talk about how to personalize for kids, a kid like this needs help getting caught up. But what we're also seeing is this kid who's already met standard is like, this is so fun. We've had a few kids now leave their grade level. They're like, I ran out of math. I'm going on to the next. So it's really kind of a cool piece. Amy?
Can I just say, in terms of, school and community collaboration, there's also a charity piece that goes with it that a lot of the kids have really bought into.
Yeah.
Where they can take these points that they receive as they're completing lessons and doing these things, and they can actually donate those. And so it's not just about math, it's about the whole community really working together and thinking outside of themselves. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, and it is not a standalone program off the shelf. It's actually embedded into our math curriculum, so it speaks the same language, it talks the same talk. It's pretty cool. So we continue this work throughout the spring. The team's talking about really upping their incentives and prizes and coming up with some really clever and fun things to keep it engaging. I'm sure free dress is on the table for the kids. Just love free dress. Our Student Support Services team is implementing 12 new intervention groups for math. So let's just unpack the math on that real quick. So grades 3rd, 4th, and 5th, 2 groups per grade, 12 kids per group. So if you go, 12 kids per group, 24 for a grade level, almost 75 kids are getting this intervention. And then there's 2 sets, 6 weeks and a second 6 weeks. So you might get 2 sets of 75 there. They're doing it a couple of different ways. And really returning to the days of Roar, for those of us who remember that, with an opt-in after school set of sessions as well, where you say, hey, you want to pick up your kid an hour late and we'll do some math intervention. And we're also targeting, because of our conversation around how the dashboard's constructed, like where if I'm a student who's performing below grade level, if I go up 5 points, that's exactly the same numeric amount of points as if a kid who at grade level gets extended 5 points. So, and as we target these groups, we're targeting kids at different areas of need. Maybe kids who are below grade level, or kids who are like right at standard, and we're going to kind of track that data and say, hey, maybe these guys make incredible growth by getting that attention and allowing allowing more of one side or the other side to happen in class. So we're going to use that as a little bit of experiment as well. And also just kind of put our professional learning community protected time. We have time every day protected for, or every day for teachers to work on the prep period, but at least once a week there's this time where the team has no interruptions to get together and talk about instruction, curriculum, things like that. I think as we look to support math, really we just need to support our teams. These are the teams that will collaborate to innovate. I'm not going to come up with a great way to solve anything on math. Amy is, Hubbard is, our teams will. So I think that's a big call out right there. You can't underestimate the value of just putting teachers in a room and being like, hey, let's be clear about the target. Now let's get out of your way and give you the support you need. So I just think that's a call out right there. As I step off of this, supporting math readiness, any questions, thoughts, or concerns regarding math? Yeah, cool. Professional development is something that we talk about a lot here at the board just because it's a big investment. I mean, you as a board really support a lot of 2 hours every other week of paid time, year round, 36 weeks a year. We have, Wednesdays. That's a big investment in professional learning. And I think we're on a roll right now. We haven't been on since pre-pandemic. And I just want to talk about it. So the Everest Academy in the fall and winter has had 6-part series running, right? And everyone's been rocking those in universal design for learning, also support for English learners through GLAD and QTEL, and also supporting student behavior. So we have these 6-part series and they're going really well. I mean, the survey results, the testament is like, yeah, we're digging this. Dr. Shraki Hawley, who's brought out culturally responsive teaching to us in August, is coming back for, he did part 1 and 2 of his shtick in August, and we've been following up on it every staff meeting, doing a little 5-minute turn and talk on, hey, how are we using this in our classroom? How's it going? Where's the pain points? Where's the celebrations? And then he's coming back for part 3 on February 12th. I'm sure you've all read. We have an early release day, which we really appreciate the support on that from the community, because getting everybody back under one roof for this type of conversation is critical for us. So really been a kind of a big year for professional learning. And Everest Academy in the spring, we're bringing back those voice and choice modules. Each module is a 2-parter, not a 6-parter. And we have over 12 modules to choose from. So that'll give everybody an opportunity to kind of go after a targeted learning piece that they or their team really want to focus on. So really big year thus far in professional learning, but going forward, we're already charting out what do the constructs look for the next coming years. So, we're preparing for the 25-26 right now. We're in the content creation right now. We're building content and we're conceptualizing this collaborative model. So I was part of the team that built UDL, but I've been through some UDL training. As we go into building a very specific training around math instruction, I would not be the guy for that, right? But the collaborative model we're looking at is, hey, take an administrator to kind of lead the charge, get one of our content builders, but then bring in who? Let's bring in our experts, our teaching staff, and get them to feed in, hey, what are the best practices? Then let them go back to doing what they do awesome, which is teaching, and let this team take what they gave and build it into modules. So we're evolving Everest as we knew we would through these through our practices. Like, how do we make this better? How do we make this more relevant? And how do we get more shared leadership kind of at play there? So I'm really excited about that. Some content that we're kind of looking at is, a possible focus on we got a call from certainly from the K-5 side of the house anyway, like, hey, you got us this new math curriculum, we love it or hate it, whatever. We need more specific training. How do I use this piece? How do I use these pieces? So same thing with the phonics or literacy conversation, like how do I really, with fidelity, use this piece? You can't ask me to do something unless you can tell me how to do it. So we're kind of building some pieces out there and hoping to use some of our local experts to do that. And then, on the secondary instruction side, we think it's really interesting, like what are the Westlake best practices that if you got hired here, you should probably know about from an instructional standpoint? How and why do we do small grouping? How and why during small grouping might you use a parent to pull a small group? Why do we use responsive classroom at all? And how does that weave into our instructional design? Because bringing that into the 6-12 side might be useful while the K-5 start to work on math and phonics. And then a full inclusion piece has really been called from the staff. Like, hey, could you be real clear? Give us not the visionary, why is it beautiful, but like the tactical, like how should I respond when this particular manifestation happens in my class. So I think we're going to do actually a long part series on that, and Katie's in development on it. There's even some talk that we're conceptualizing a special consideration around engaging families. We're talking about like a potential family-facing version of Everest. We're working on it, man. We'll see what happens. We just got a couple things in the water that we're like, well, because we have it now, some pieces for classified. We have some pieces for certificated. We're like, hey, what would it look like if you were like, hey, even just as a training tool to say, would you like to come volunteer in the classroom? Well, our teachers have collaborated and said, these are the things they'd love for you to do in the classroom. These are things we'd love for you not to do in the classroom, just a heads up. And so just as a parent university, there's one version there. Another version is like training parents to facilitate learning opportunities at home. So if my kid's in kindergarten, they're learning phonics, what are some of the phonics things that I can be doing on a regular basis at home that would help my child succeed? Or using parents as interventionists. Hey, your child's falling a little behind in this one skill, blending vowels. Here's the parent university that's going to teach you how to do it. Do this for 6 weeks at home, and then we'll re-engage and check and see how it works. So we got some ideas on the table. We'll could do one of these things. We do anything we want. We can't do everything we want. But those are some of the things we're noodling with going forward. I'm very excited, obviously, about professional development. I think professional learning and professional development is what we do to create who we are, right? And recently, we've hired a lot of new people in a time when we haven't been really engaged in high-level professional development. So I think we're primed to, move forward in some really positive ways. Any questions about next year's or this year's professional learning before I move forward? Hubba?
Is the parent engagement, are you thinking of it like parents go to school?
Yeah, I'm kind of vibing on it. Yeah, I'd kind of like to bring parents go to school night back as that by itself I think would be great to bring back. But yeah, I think so. Because part of it is if you did a parents go to school night in Everest, and then you had all those for next year, and you did it again the following year, 5 years later, you'd have like, here's our 25 best tools for being an engaged parent with a K-12 learner. Yeah, I love that. I love it. Anything else?
Just from a technology, just during the meeting, has anyone texted you about your audio? Your mic's going on and off.
Yeah, I just turned it back on.
Okay.
I didn't want anybody to hear me earlier. Block said she could still hear me even though it was off.
Yeah, because I have mine on, so
Yeah.
I figured it's picking up. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's
you.
good, it's good.
I was looking over. And
We were getting a little echo, and so I turned mine off.
Well, I can turn off if it's me.
No, I think we're okay. Thank you. Let's go into updates. I'm going to talk. Hey, look at that picture right there.
That's a cute picture.
It is a cute picture. I did ask for permission.
He did.
From you, not from Coach. Sorry, Coach. We're going to talk about comprehensive school safety plan, optional staff workday attendance, and the application lottery update. CSSP, the plan is complete and on file. If anybody wants to take a look at it, you can look at the complete plan. It is in the office. It can be reviewed for the next 30 days. So the next board meeting, I'll be asking for an approval at that point. The plan does include this new section that's mandated by legislation called the Instructional Continuity Plan, or the ICP. Let me an acronym. This will be reviewable beginning February 1st because I got it out right now for review on just a couple of. It's actually longer. It's a fairly long piece. We've been talking about it too. Is like I think the people who came up with the idea of the instructional continuity plan were thinking about COVID. Hey, if you close down your school, the new legislation says you've got 5 days to be reopened. Okay, I mean, but we look at the tragedy that's happening right now. And we know of a teacher who's a friend of ours, whose school burned down today in Southern California. You're like, are they gonna open in 5 days? So I don't wonder if the ledge doesn't adjust this. We're still gonna play ball, we're gonna build the ICP. I'm not gonna have that ready for review until February 1st, because we wanna make sure we don't have to touch it twice. But by February 1st, you'll have 15 days to review before the board meeting, or ish, maybe 13 days. This ICP covers academics. How will you engage students academically if the school closes down? Let's think pandemic, because that's like the easier one for us to conceptualize. If you get to fire or flood, you're like, oh my gracious, how in the world would you do any of this? But how would you engage in academics? What technology distribution would you utilize? What are your operations plans? That includes like nutrition, right? And then what are your communications plans? And so it's fairly comprehensive. We've had to short form some of the portions of it, like best guess, we believe this is what we would do, but try to stay fairly vague, because you're like, well, it's different. If it's a pandemic, we do it this way, but if it's a fire, so it's tough. We've got to kind of build this thing out so it reads a little vague, but it's still pretty comprehensive. There's lots of bullet points in there. And then, so I'll be seeking approval for the whole plan in February, and then we'll ship it off to determination by the school district in March on time. Any questions on that? Super duper. Optional staff workday. I mean, we just talked about it when we were building the calendar. You guys have celebrated it. I'll throw it out there, some cool stats for you. 65 certificated staff participated in some portion of this optional workday. Remember, people could come in for 3 hours on the time card and 3 hours out. Some people came full day. We had, 65 people, which is 71% of all certificated. I mean, that's a high use number. Over 55% participated in a full day. So a lot of the people, took it as a half day and only got paid for a half day. So if we don't worry about that. We allow people to sign in and sign out and time card appropriately. They get paid at their daily rate, but it's broken up hourly. Actually, as we looked across, we think every single grade level or subject area was actually touched by one person or another. We don't think there was a single grade level or group that didn't have at least somebody there, which was really cool. And then, during celebrations this week, we've heard everybody celebrate, and we heard it actually again tonight from us. It's appreciated. So, thank you for supporting it as a board. And when I hire people, and I show them their salary agreement, I say, hey, we're 186 days of school. That's 6 days of PD, 180 days of school. But our board is fantastic. We also have these optional work days, and I always explain that to people, and it seems like we use it well. Any questions on that? Cool. So I want to talk about attendance action plan. Over here is our annual attendance from 2019. I jumped back to 2019 because we're at 97.10% attendance. And then, kind of fast forward just the last 2 years, we're at 94. Between there, there was some we were climbing, right? We were 97, dropped to 89, and you kind of climb back out during all the COVID mess there. I bring that up because I'm like, well, we're kind of plateaued at 94%. We're budgeted around 94%. But every 1% is not only a couple $100,000 of ADA, it's seat time, and we know the correlation between kids being in the seat and kids learning. So all of the above matters. We partner with School Status. We kind of look around. These guys are nationally recognized partner in school attendance. They got a great track record, lots of great recommendations from other institutions. They create really consistent communications, letters, emails, text messages. Their cadence of communication doesn't target attendance in the way that we have always targeted attendance, but it kind of speaks to it from more of a chronic absenteeism standpoint. So rather than kind of a gotcha, your kid wasn't at school today, bring us a note from your doctor, it's more of this conversation on like, hey, are you meeting your targets and goals because it's important for your academics? And so it really helps you set up this. It really gives you a great target point for like, hey man, we got a goal for you, and we have a very clear way now of targeting and communicating said goal. And so kids are getting awards and incentives and emails and text messages to mom saying, hey, great job, you're doing what you hoped to have done. And it's a very off-the-shelf kind of seamless package, which we like, but it's also very customizable with our own language and logos and whatnot. So we like the piece. We're looking forward to it. The company boasts kind of a record of increasing attendance by 1 or 2% in the short term. We're like, well, we'll see. If that were true, that would be great. You obviously didn't see it on a consent item because it's below the dollar amount that needs to be approved. So it's very affordable, and if it does increase attendance, it'll pay itself off. And if it, as we look at the dashboard, if it helps to decrease chronic absenteeism, that's the win. That's the win. So we'll roll this out. We'll be looking for parent feedback on like, well, how does it feel? If we're communicating about attendance in a slightly different way, let us know. So any questions, thoughts, or concerns about that? Hope?
I'm just curious from a data standpoint. So in 2019, we didn't have high school yet.
True story.
And I'm not saying high schoolers go to school less
Yeah.
than others.
They typically, high schoolers and kindergartners.
They make choices different.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say. So is any of that decrease attributable to being a K-12 now versus a K-8 then?
Yeah, I could pull you the numbers. In fact, when Melissa and I built this slide, we had put out we put out K-8 in high school numbers. We might have done K-5 and 6, 8 in high school, and then I smushed into one because it became pretty data heavy. And while high school is typically and is lower than some years, we have our K-8 numbers are not where they were in 2019.
Any gain is great. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
Yeah, our K-8 numbers aren't where they were in 2019.
I have one question too. I know that our administration, people like Amy Wells, spend a lot of time also reaching out and finding out ways that we can help. Does this help reduce that work at all?
Well, it does. It does it in a different way because the data that we're going to pull from this particular system is different than the way we pull attendance now. So our team right now is looking through like these who was absent, and the data that pulls from here is like who is off track and potentially on track to be chronically absent. Okay. So it formats the data in a way that'll be much easier for our attendance team, which meets weekly, to go, oh, we know who we're targeting, right? And and it takes some of the the manual labor out of it. It's got a little dashboard.
That's great.
Everybody loves the dashboard. Stepher?
Just a point. I think before the pandemic, there was this. The environment was if you're sick, you fight through it. You just go to school.
That's true. It's true.
And then I think post-pandemic, I think that's changed a lot.
Sure.
If you're sick, just stay home now, and if it's one day, you stay home 2 days just in case.
Right.
So I think that might play into it. But
No, for sure. It's just that we've seen some of our counterpart. We've seen other schools rebound a little quicker on attendance, and so we're like, well, let's just see. And we don't want kids to come to school sick, and we don't want anyone to come to work sick. But yeah, I think getting a streamlined set of communications on that help people recognize how important it is the kids in class if they can be. Yeah, it's not bad. It's good. It's good. Yes, this is a 25-26 pilot. We'll report back as we check it out. Outreach and lottery update. You can see all the outreach we've been doing. I want to give you guys a at this point update on applications received. This is as of January 9th. Again, on this first draft of the slide, it went all the way back like 7 years of data. I'm like, I think it was a little number heavy. Everyone look at numbers all night. I see here this is definitely a bubble year, and it was across the district. I went and pulled the district numbers of how many kids were enrolled. Kind of a larger year coming in that year. So I see a drop off though. Even with this year being a bubble year, and numerically like a number of people in district, we've trailed off by quite a few applications. We're still crushing it. We have more applications than we'll ever need, but I do see a trending down of the number of applications. Might we rebound the next 30 days and have a banner in January? Maybe. But let's look at our target entry points. These are the big entry points. I love that we have 112 applications for second grade, but I can't imagine getting all 100. I can't imagine. But your entry point of kindergarten, we have 231 kindergarten applications as of today right now. And at the exact same date last year, we had 251. Okay, so that's a difference of 20, right? Sixth grade, 151 now. Last year this time, 177. right? I mean, about 20. And then ninth grade, 101 now, 114, slightly less of a gap there. We also are anticipating a larger eighth grade matriculation this year, so that number is actually okay. But I just think it's an interesting data trend. We need to look as a board like, is it market saturation? Is it reputation? Is it dashboard driven? What is it? Why do we have less applications last 3 years than we did the previous? And do we care? I do. From a marketing standpoint, I like a nice, large wait list. However, I have heard people say, hey, the word on the street is don't apply because you're not going to get in because the wait list is so long. So you might get some downtrending because people are like, nah, it's not even worth it. Some people have applied 8 years in a row and not gotten in, and they might be like, I'm stopping applying. And that might be the 20 people dropping off is in 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th group. You know, but those are entry points. They're typically the points we're looking at. So any thoughts on that, Houston? Oh, and then
I think that is a great point, because I look at social media a lot, Nextdoor, all those places, and every time the school is mentioned, people are like, your kid's not gonna get in.
you'll never get in.
Yeah, I've been applying for 8 years and they've never gotten in.
Yeah.
Number two, there were 2 schools that recently opened in the area, right?
It's true.
And I don't think the population has grown, because Northlake in particular has, they have some really small classes. They have really like 1 class per grade level. And some people who are in the Northlake community who maybe were driving here have chosen. So I think there might be several factors.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back over this particular timeline, it's not too far back where Paso Verde opened up, and and then the Arriaga Heredia campus opened up, and now the Northlake campus opened up. I mean, it's not far-fetched to think that like 1, 2, 3 K-8s within 4 miles, impact this. Yeah, that's plausible. Mr. Tom?
I was gonna point out, I feel like there is despite the 2 regular K-8s, I know the dual, the
Dual
dual
immersion.
language kind of concept is a new one.
Yeah.
We don't have that around here. So just that, I think, could be taking, kind of makes the point,
Sure.
following what Amber said.
Oh,
No, I was just gonna piggyback off Northlake, right, because they're the lowest priority on the lottery because they're out
Sure,
of district,
sure.
on top of it all. So, getting in for them is a particular miracle.
yeah. Yeah, I of course have to take a critical eye. That's my job. So I'm like, what can we do better? So I look at the numbers and go, where's the play there? But we will certainly fill kindergarten more than twice over. We'll be fine because it is only January 9th, and these numbers will and they do trend pretty high at the end. What happens if that 251 turns into 321 right in the last 30 days? So
I have wondered if there's, our brand is very clear, but I often see our ads at the same time I see Natomas Charters with the same setup. So I have wondered this year in particular if there's not just like I've applied to one, if there's making sure people are cognizant that we are
there's something different. Yeah, that's a good point.
Because particularly, I love the buzz, but I'm pretty sure that's where I've noticed it most because with social media, the greatness and nightmare that it is, everything's like same size, same shape. So I wonder if there's another way to make us pop in that marketplace.
Yeah.
Just because it looks so similar.
I love it. It's good. Continued outreach, obviously the Natomas Buzz, postcards, Facebook, Instagram, X.
I got a postcard.
I got a postcard.
I laughed real hard.
I loved it. Every time I get one, I do. I don't know how to do that.
Aged appropriately.
That's true. She goes here. I think it's last piece, and it is just the 24-25 WASCA update. Remember, we had our initial visit in 22. There in 23, we got our, submitted our grade change request. We're all the way up to where we are now. We've been writing our self-study report. All of our breakout committees, giving feedback, and in 25, we'll have our full site visit, which is like Has any of you been through a WASP presentation? No? Oh, it's super cool. All of you guys, by the way, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, we'll do something fun. Yeah, mark it. It's great. It's a great opportunity for board members to be out there and show support of what we've done. This room, we have built a high school. And we've arrived at our final year and our WASC accreditation right before we walk the stage at the Memorial Auditorium. I mean, this is a really significant moment for us, and I think when I give you the opportunity to read the WASC report, I think you'd be proud of what you hear in the voices of the people who wrote it and put input into it. And those people include, all the focus groups, right? Certificate staff, classified staff, students, families. We have board members included in articulating what do we think we're doing, where do we think is going well, where do you think we are going next? Is kind of the wrap in the areas of curriculum instruction, assessment, leadership, and culture, right? All the data has been shared with the high school staff. They've had a chance to give some response data. They took the data into their PLC teams and gave some responses back. Super cool. A very, very collaborative piece there. We're writing the self-study report. I've read versions, alpha, beta, gamma. I don't know what we're up to. But it's coming together really nicely. Obviously, Dr. Galloway, who's our WASC chair, is just doing a phenomenal job. She's such a fantastic author. And we're finalizing the draft right now. And I think are submitting next month. Did I put that on here? Submitting next month for our chairperson. This is new news. Yeah, that was my reaction. I got an email yesterday morning. It was like, hey, heads up, you're visiting chair. And it's a big deal. So you make this relationship with your visiting chair. So the visiting chair gets assigned to the school a year in advance. And you go, hey, this is kind of who we are. We gave the visiting chair at Westlake Charter email account so they could log in and go through our Westlake weekly, and we gave some, this is who we are, like really get to know us, and we're jamming with this chair. We've now known this chair for multiple years, because this is the person who's going to come out here and guide a team. Now the team doesn't get assigned till way after the chair. The chair reads like the whole document, knows everything, and then people are assigned, and the chair goes, hey guys, let me give you the wrap on this school. I don't jam with them. This is how it goes. Here's the doc. Let's all go for a visit. Our visit's on May 5th. Got the email yesterday. Your chair has resigned from WASC. They're going through some personal stuff. And we're like, and then it doesn't say, and your new chair is. It just goes, we'll be in touch. I'm like, oh. So we got a little work to do. We're going to get a new chair, I think, in the next week or two, and have to kind of ramp up. But it's a bit of a curveball. I think we'll be fine. We got a great school, a great set of practices, a great document getting put together, but that'll be an interesting curveball for us. And so our site team is preparing for the site visit. And it's a full roll out the red carpet situation. It's a lot of fun. If you have a marching band, when I was the principal of Natomas High School, we brought in the WASC visiting team. We met them at the flagpole. It's on Sunday. The whole board's there. And then I cued something on the radio, and the whole marching band came around the corner, like, ta-da! Because it's just such a show, man. So we'll do something special to make sure they know who we are from day one. Any questions about WASC? Such a cool time. Make sure you're there. All right, team. Let's kick over to the agenda. Back to you.
John, will you please check for any public comment before
Sure
we go
will.
to consent?
Seeing none.
Perfect. So we have A through H on consent tonight. Like I indicated during my committee report, last month the governance committee did review and recommend adoption of E and F, and then tonight took action to recommend repealing the two board policies listed under H. Are there any other questions on the consent agenda for tonight? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
I'll move it.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Hope,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Josh is absent, Sapir,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
Stuck, Amber,
Yes.
Suzanne,
Yes.
Nurali,
Yes.
Amy.
Yes.
Perfect. That brings us to item number 8, which is accept and approve goals.
Yeah, so I'll throw the, I guess I have it in slide form, but I think I'll just open up the board brief. That might be just a cleaner way of doing it. Am I the wrong board packet? Might be it.
Looks like
No.
last December.
I'm in the last month, that's the wrong month. All of the
Right there,
clicks.
right there. Go
Did I
back.
have it already open?
Yeah, because he had it open from governance.
Where, here?
Was it on the slide?
It was on, well, I have it on the slides. I'll
No,
just
it
go.
was a different document.
I'll just go to
There's
slides.
another- Hit the tab next to it.
No, I'm like, where did it go?
I know it's
This
there.
one here?
Yeah.
Oh, that was it. I got it open, all ready to go. I'm sorry. I saw the header and was like, that's the board agenda. Okay. Well, we did take, you all had a chance to look at the board brief, but we just took some feedback from last month's conversation regarding board goals and just did some adjusting. If you have any thoughts, I mean, we can still adjust on the fly here today in the meeting and then move this item with those adjustments if you're seeking any. Governance approved them tonight to bring them to you, but what are your any thoughts on the board goals? Anything that you'd like to see adjusted or? Your audio's working. Just kidding.
I don't have any feedback to it, but I do like how the board goals have been rewritten to really hone in on exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I know they really, to some degree, mirror at a higher level what we've had prior years, but this really, like, we want to be regularly informed. There's like that second piece. I really like the adjustments to it, so thanks, team.
It's good. It's good. Xavier.
I'm guessing that you guys worked on this throughout the year to come up with these 3 points, or was that done within the board? Or?
Yeah, we brought forward conversation in November, draft in December, based on December feedback, brought these back, redrafted today. So this is the first time we've seen them in this format. Yeah. You notice that we adjusted them to the 2025 board goals as opposed to 24, 25. They may stand as 25, 26. We might get out to June and say, hey, can we just call these the 25, 26 and bring them all the way around to the next June? Because at that point, we'll be probably buttoning up our strategic plan. It'll be a very nice time for us to step off of these goals onto new goals. So these could actually stand for 18 months theoretically. Okay. I won't make you talk about anything. I'll scroll down. Any thoughts on executive director goals?
So these just pretty much match what the board saw last month, with some minor changes really to number 2. Whereas instead of like planning for the charter, it just is the strategic plan, charter, and facilities use agreement by 2028 in an effort to sort of just get at what we really are doing. Or what I guess what John's really doing, but we will have to support him in all these goal areas.
All right. Oh, good. Thank you.
Do you feel like our board goals support you in your executive director goals?
It's a good question. I mean, I like the alignment between the strengthening of community engagement at all levels of the organization, focusing on fostering community engagement from the classroom to the boardroom, because I see down here this focus on recruitment, development, retention of staff and community engagement. Now, I always think this is my job, like really focus on recruit, develop, and retain staff. But I like this idea of calling parents community partners and figuring out ways to ensure that their engagement increases impact. I think that's interesting language. I think that these two align really well. Obviously, your goal of this multi-year process supports me doing this multi-year process. So yeah, I do. I think they're well dovetailed. I mean, you know, the funny thing about the executive director goals and the board goals, for that matters, is there's 1,000 things you do that don't. That's just your job, right? But I think if you did these 3 things well, I think that we'll be heading in the direction that we want to be heading. I think that this touches a lot of what I at least feel are good for the organization at this point. I think I get pretty hard on myself when I go, oh, the enrollment numbers maybe are down. We're trying to come up with reasons for that. Or I go, oh yeah, I think we're a little underperforming in areas of the dashboard. But I think we got to check up ourselves every once in a while and go, hey, just a reminder, we made the decision to open a high school in the midst of all that was going on in the world, and look at all the celebrations. Now, if we just take where we are and do those things, I think we'll be right where we want to be. Our next 4-year group of seniors, when they graduate, think about where those kids are now. They're in 8th grade, right? Yeah, and those kids started on Del Paso because our 7th graders are the first kids who started kindergarten here. So it's just this interesting moment where you go, it took 4 years to create these seniors. 4 years from now, who's going to be in that seat? This whole joint's going to really be cooking at that point. When you talk about producing our students who are aligned with our graduate profile, a couple iterations through this, and this whole thing's gonna line right up. So
Feels good.
it feels good, man. I'm very hopeful. I'm excited about it. Yeah.
When I get my moments like that, and I feel like they hit a little bit more often lately, and I'm lucky, right, because I have a long history on the board, so I sort of, I have this way we got here. I helped draft the mission statement, and I go back to that a lot because we had a very fruitful discussion about readiness versus excellence. And this step away from perfectionism, right? And it would be great if we had perfect scores or that everything you saw was just fabulous, but is that our goal? Is that what our mission is? And our mission isn't that, right? Our mission is to serve our community and make sure that they're ready to lead as global citizens. And so I'm on his goals, Sally, particularly enamored by impact through engagement, because there's engagement, but having sort of the more why behind it excites me. I think it's my one concern with it. I think it's going to be hard to measure what that looks like for the executive director, and so I'd ask the board to be mindful of that when we get to evaluating success or whatever you want to call under the school. But I really look forward to see where it leads.
Yeah, I look at some of that conversation we had tonight around Everest Academy for Parents and engaging parents in, potential intervention work or, I just go, hey, that's impact. That'll be really cool. There's lots of ways we'll play though.
I just, going to what Hope was saying, I think that there are so many things that as an executive director that you are doing or as board members that we are doing we spend so much time trying to stay up high, looking, at from that vantage point. But I happen to know of several things that you do to support staff members, new staff members, and to engage them that are nitty gritty things that you have done, proofreading papers or giving people a text message, hey, let me know if you need advice on which neighborhood to move to. So I just think that sometimes the things that we're doing are more difficult to measure because they're not really super 40,000 foot or 20,000. They really are in the weeds kind of things that we're doing to make sure that our people feel supported and that our people feel connected. And so I don't know, maybe that is our challenge moving forward is how do we measure success? Because we've left these things intentionally very large. But how do we know when we've met that target?
For a lot of them, it's kind of straightforward, right? In the sense of when we get all these documents done and we have a permanent campus, whenever that happens, right? Some of them have clear, objective check marks. And as a board, we have to stay at that higher level. Not that we don't notice the granular things, but John luckily does them on his own, so we don't have to worry about it, right? Because he's a fabulous leader, and we've been very blessed with his drive towards culture and community. So it's just, we'll develop our ways, I think, as we go through these goals to figure out how to measure the more subjective ones. I just really sort of shared my shift in what I try to do when I rewrite my story, when I start to get a little hard on myself about where we're at. I don't know that we even deserve that, but I try to pause and just remember what we're really trying to do, and I go back to that mission statement, and I think that these goals really do support that.
Yeah, it's good. Any other questions, thoughts, or concerns about those two sets? The other goals, all the committee goals have gone through committee. So committees have already approved their goals for themselves. So I think those are kind of a slam dunk. So barring any other feedback on them, we look for a motion.
I'll move the goals. Thank you. Chair's not supposed to.
I will second.
Thank you.
Hope,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Sapir, Sally,
Yes.
Amber,
Yes.
Suzanne,
Yes.
Nurali,
Yes.
Amy.
Yes.
We don't have any discussion items for tonight. For future agenda items, I know we'll have more policies next month.
We do.
Second interim's not till March, so
Not
we
till
have
March,
some
yeah.
time on that. Yeah, we'll take things as they come. Reflection, what worked well, what would have been better if? Who will go first? No reward for that.
I'm going to jump in.
Perfect.
The last couple months we've had policy in the consent agenda, and that has happened because of the work of the governance team, spending ample time grappling with red line versions of policies. By the time it gets here, we have clarity on what we are being asked to read, and then our board does the work of reading and coming to this meeting prepared to take action. And I just think that governance process is super nerdy and super not interesting to some people, but to me, I'm like, oh, that's so awesome that we have a governance team that does the grind, that puts something. And now we've had 3 months in a row where policy has come to fruition, and that's how this whole joint runs. So I think that's what works well, is everyone doing their homework, everyone being on a committee that helps move things forward.
Mine's gonna take it, kind of build on yours.
Yeah, go.
To say, reflect that I appreciate the work that you and Steve have put in on behalf of the governance committee, because it is a slog trying to get through all this
It's a slog.
policy work. So trying to find tools that we can use to simplify that in a way that makes it easier for us to do the work, easier for people to understand our policy, and at the same time, hopefully be a cost-effective endeavor for the board and the school. All those three things really make this work better for me.
Suzanne?
I really appreciate in your presentations, John, every month how you do celebrations first, because for some of us that aren't at campus,
Yeah.
because we are otherwise occupied, I look forward to it every month, so thank you so much.
Everyone should get to celebrate Pajama Day, whether you're here or not. Absolutely.
Exactly. Thank you.
It works well for me to hear from some of you that have been on the board for several years, to hear the history of something or the progression of some things. I've been on the teacher side for 8 years, but not the board side, so I appreciate hearing your lens.
I love it.
Kind of to piggyback a little bit on what she's saying about the history of things, we talk about the lottery, you talk about the numbers year after year. It's my 3rd year now, and every time I feel like you bring something new to discuss about it. It's not like, oh, here's some data, this is 2019, I know you love data, there's 7 years of it, but there's always like, hey, what do you think? Why is this happening? You come with such a critical eye to everything. It's not just like, here's all the wonderful things I do, but it's also, sometimes you're hard on yourself, like you mentioned, but I really appreciate that. Even though hello, is anyone here? What's happening, board? And I think it's great that
It's good.
interaction is necessary sometimes.
Just real fast, you've changed your mindset when I go on family things, and what do you notice? What do you wonder?
What do you notice? What do you wonder?
And
I
I
got
think
that
that's
from us,
exactly
right? What do you
what
notice? What do you wonder?
Lottery data, right? You look at it, I noticed this, it makes me wonder that. And it's funny how you
Which one of
apply
these
it
doesn't
to-
fit?
It's ingrained now. Sorry, Steve. I've cut you off twice tonight.
I thought the slide on Imagine Math was.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. 7,000 lessons.
Behind, as we co-create, and so, how the kids and students are really involved in that. And then thank you for the acknowledgement for Capital as well.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Yeah.
it. So thank you.
Yeah. Let me some Calptel. As you said.
Lots of good things I was gonna say. I was gonna kind of say what Norali said about how you ask hard questions. It's not always easy, right? It's uncomfortable sometimes, and I appreciate that you ask hard questions and make us think and be uncomfortable. And also, I'm just really happy that Satmir is here.
Hey, there we go.
I feel a lot better with you here.
There you go. What works well? Sapphire is here. Yeah, good.
Agreed on that part. I like the attendance piece.
Oh, yeah.
I think that it's not something I would have thought that you could look at a different way. Attendance, people are here, they're not here. It
Yeah.
seems pretty cut and dry, but yet apparently
Yeah.
I'm showing a new way to look at it, and I thought that was very interesting and a great idea.
Yeah, it's gonna be really, actually from a data nerd standpoint, the way that it targets tracking toward chronic absenteeism will give us an opportunity as a team to intervene early. Like, oh, this kid's trending toward this target that previously I guess we didn't acknowledge until after it happened. Oops, that person's chronically absent. How'd that happen? And now this new way of looking at it's going to give us, I think, a better chance to intervene early and say, hey, if you still want to meet this goal, right? That'd be interesting.
From our first one, really enjoyed it. I thought the conversations were great. Seeing, from the mile high level.
Yeah.
Just the preparedness with all the documents and the data to back it up. It's fantastic. Really good time.
It's good. It's good.
Well, my celebration was that it's better with Sapphire here as well, so I guess I'll have to think of another. I really appreciated the WAVE report, the fact that Felix is really working hard to engage parents in this really positive way, and he's really rethinking things. And then that kind of led to my appreciation for the way that we're dealing with the absenteeism. I think talking about it in terms of targets and goals and positive language is so Westlake.
Yeah.
That intentional positive voice that we always want to be having with our students, that we see them and we support them, versus that like, gotcha, you're doing something wrong, or you got it wrong, or you made a mistake. So I just really appreciate the way that we approach everything from parent engagement to attendance. It's why we work here. It's why we do what we do here for this place.
Yeah, it's interesting because that board goal, the goal that we developed around community partnering, I've shared with Felix, and we've had this conversation on like, how do we engage people in impactful. So it's interesting. It's a partnership that I've always enjoyed. So it's gonna be an extra hand in the work. What worked well? What would work better if?
Learning more about Everest Academy and how it can be used not only for staff and teachers, but for parents as well.
Be cool.
Everest Academy has just been one of the best things that has come to Westlake in the most recent years, because it just allows people to dig in and personally, how they learn personally instead of just sitting and listening all the time. So Everest Academy is legit.
Love it.
So with that, we'll adjourn at whatever time it is. 7:48.
7:48. Thanks, everybody. I like how efficient we are. Oh, good night, Paul.
Good night, Paul.
Okay.